I think if you look at our team on paper and you look at our pitching rotation and our lineup on a daily basis, if those guys just go out and do near their average major league numbers over their careers, I think that'll be good enough to win.
There's a lot of talent here, and I think if we, like every other team, if we can stay healthy, I don't think that there's a limit to what we can do this year.
The main thing is winning. Everybody's on the same page, and that's all that we care about is winning.
The Diamondbacks' quest began on a cool Los Angeles evening when rookie manager Bob Brenly trotted out his first lineup card. The tone for an unforgettable season was set early when Luis Gonzalez belted the first of what would turn into a franchise record 57 home runs, and the Diamondbacks partied after earning their first victory of the 2001 season.
The Diamondbacks win the 2001 season opener. And congratulations to first-year skipper Bob Brenly.
April brought more game-winning heroics from all corners of the clubhouse. Here, Reggie Sanders caps a scintillating stretch from April 16th to the 22nd that earned him National League Player of the Week honors.
Second home run of the game.
The month came to a close, but not before Gonzalez tied Ken Griffey Jr.'s record with 13 home runs in the opening month of the season, and the Diamondbacks celebrated finishing April with a winning record.
With 13 home runs in the month of April. 2-2 to Castro.
The evening of May 8th turned magical when Randy Johnson unleashed his blazing fastballs and mind-bending sliders on the unsuspecting Cincinnati Reds.
Strike three.
By the time Johnson had finished 9 innings, he had muscled his way into the record books with 20 strikeouts.
The major league record.
After 17 scoreless innings in San Francisco on May 29th, Erubio Durazo sliced a double into the left field corner that scored the game's only run and ended the longest game in franchise history. During the 15th, Brenly joked that if they won, he would reward the team by giving them infield practice off for the rest of the season. They never took infield again. The summer to remember continued during an emotionally charged Father's Day game when Tony Womack's grand slam led the way. Womack broke down as he reached home plate, remembering his father, who had passed away 2 months earlier. Gonzalez took center stage during the All-Star break in Seattle by winning the home run hitting contest, beating out a field that included Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa. With Arizona facing one of its most lopsided losses of the season against the rival Giants, manager Bob Brenly broke the tension by sending center fielder Steve Finley to pitch the 9th. The move worked, and the Diamondbacks broke their slide. Workhorse right-hander Curt Schilling becomes the first pitcher in franchise history to earn 20 wins in a season. He also became the Majors' first 20-game winner after beating San Francisco 7-2 on September 5th. Matt Williams' game-winning 2-run homer in the bottom of the 10th inning beat San Diego on September 8th in yet another dramatic ending to another Diamondbacks victory. Just 1 inning earlier, Padres all-star closer Trevor Hoffman had his consecutive save streak snapped at 27 during a Diamondbacks come-from-behind rally in the bottom of the 9th. Arizona beat the Padres in 2 of the 3 games at Bank One Ballpark in a series that highlighted everything the Diamondbacks did right during their assault on the National League West. Timely hitting was one of the Diamondbacks' favorite callings during the season, like this key RBI single by Mark Grace and the agile base running of Danny Bautista, shown here beating a throw to the plate. The spectacular defense that yielded the highest fielding percentage in the National League was on display almost every night, highlighted by 2-time Gold Glove winning first baseman Mark Grace. Clutch hitting from reserves such as David DeLucci led to countless rallies that kept scoreboard operators at Bank One Ballpark busy all summer long.
Single by DeLucci.
Reliever Byung-Hyun Kim and his wicked submarine-style pitches that have continually confounded opposing batters since he arrived from South Korea before the 1999 season earned 19 saves after taking over for injured closer Matt Manti. Randy Johnson continued his mastery over opponents when he became the first pitcher in Major League history to record 300 strikeouts in 4 consecutive seasons. Johnson is second only to Roger Clemens in strikeouts among active pitchers. Tragedy struck on September 11th during the terrorist attacks on New York City and Washington, D.C. As the nation paused for reflection, so too did Major League Baseball. Commissioner Bud Selig ordered games be halted for a full week. to be resumed on September 17th. 1 week later, the Diamondbacks returned to Phoenix for their final homestand that started with 3 games against Milwaukee. Luis Gonzalez, who has emerged into one of the game's biggest superstars, once again led the way on offense. But he was aided by the late-season surge of shortstop Tony Womack, who after a first-half slump gave the club a much-needed presence in the leadoff spot and on the base paths when it mattered most.
1-2 to Counsell.
No player gave the Diamondbacks a bigger late-season boost than Craig Counsell, who emerged from the bench to become the everyday second baseman during a September surge. Counsell's wide range on defense helped cement his spot, but it was his consistency at the plate where he made his biggest strides. He may not have won this argument, but he did secure his spot in the lineup.
It's off the wall.
Randy Johnson eventually won his 20th game to join Curt Schilling as 20-game winning teammates. The duo was easily the most intimidating 1-2 punch in the majors. Johnson and Schilling finished first and second in earned run average and strikeouts, the two combining for 665 strikeouts, a new single-season Major League record for teammates. They were joined by St. Louis's Matt Morris as the only pitchers to win at least 21 games in the National League.
Struck him out. Swinging. There it goes.
In a scene that became all too familiar during the summer, Luis Gonzalez's torrid pace continued into late September. Here, his game-winning home run on September 28th leaves Bank One Ballpark and deals a crushing blow to the Dodgers' postseason chances, leaving only the Diamondbacks and Giants in serious contention for the National League West crown. In just the franchise's 4th year of existence, Arizona was aiming for its 2nd playoff berth. The next night saw the Dodgers literally run themselves out of playoff contention as the Diamondbacks chased and chased and chased down Los Angeles before catching the Dodgers and sending them on their way toward another empty offseason. The final homestand began with 3 games against divisional rival Colorado. It culminated the end of 81 games at Bank One Ballpark that saw the Diamondbacks peak during the Valley's scorching summer months and maintain their grasp on the NL West division. It all began during spring training in Tucson, where the seeds for this unforgettable season were first laid. The unbridled optimism that sprouted from those chilly days in mid-February spilled over and became the rallying cry for this talented ball club, one that muscled its way to the verge of the playoffs during a 3-game sweep over the Rockies. The 2001 season will long be remembered for memorable home runs, the standout starting pitching of Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling, strong relief efforts from Miguel Batista, Greg Swindell, and the ageless arm of Mike Morgan. Aggressive and unpredictable base running became the norm from this bunch. Timely defense from the club that turned the 3rd most double plays in the National League were a benchmark. Contributions kept coming from virtually every corner of the roster during what will surely be remembered as an unforgettable season. By the time the Rockies were sent packing, having lost all 3 games, the Diamondbacks were on the threshold of being crowned National League West champs for the 2nd time in 3 years. All that was needed was 1 more victory and 1 more loss by San Francisco. The fans did their part with a hearty send-off. The Diamondbacks did their part earlier in the night on October 5th with a victory in Milwaukee and then waited and watched to see if the Giants would do theirs and lose. They immediately let loose once their mission had been reached. Champagne and smiles filled the room into the wee hours of the night. The playoffs returned to Bank One Ballpark 4 days after the Diamondbacks' wild celebration in Milwaukee. The National League Division Series started with Arizona hosting the St. Louis Cardinals. Curt Schilling, who had gotten the call to start Game 1, was opposed by fellow 22-game winner Matt Morris.
And a line drive base hit to right.
The two locked into a classic pitcher's duel, but it was Schilling who emerged on top in Arizona's 1-0 victory. Schilling struck out 9 in posting just the 5th complete game victory in NLDS history. It was arguably the best pitched game ever by a Diamondback.
Schilling gives a big hug to Mark Grace. He was St. Louis on Friday night. Plunkett called out on strikes.
The big unit took the mound for Game 2 against the Cardinals, but it was evident early on that Randy Johnson would labor on this day. St. Louis struck for 2 quick runs in the first and another in the third on their way to a 4-1 victory that evened the best-of-5 series. No amount of defensive wizardry on this afternoon would help Johnson or the Diamondbacks, who then headed to St. Louis for the next 2 games. After splitting the 2 games at Busch Stadium, the series returned to Arizona for the deciding game. With the score tied and 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, Tony Womack's bloop single to left sent Danny Bautista chugging home with the game-winning run, and the Diamondbacks were headed to the National League Championship Series, where they would face perennial power Atlanta.
The Diamondbacks are going to the National League Championship Series against Atlanta. How about that?
The Diamondbacks' pitching was simply too much for the Braves, who bowed out in just 5 games. Arizona had snagged its first National League pennant. For the first time ever, the Fall Classic came to the desert as the Diamondbacks hosted the storied New York Yankees. If the Diamondbacks had any jitters, they never showed. With Curt Schilling continuing his postseason mastery and Arizona's offense jumping out early on Yankees starter Mike Mussina, the rout was on as the Diamondbacks won their first World Series game by an impressive 9-1 count. Randy Johnson picked up the ball for Game 2, and by the time he completed his first World Series game, the Diamondbacks had defeated the Yankees 4-0. But this game was much closer than the final score indicated. Yankee starter Andy Pettitte nearly matched Johnson for 7 innings, the 2 squaring off in a tight pitcher's duel that saw Johnson strike out 7 of the first 9 hitters he faced. But then, in the 7th inning, Matt Williams launched a 3-run homer deep into the left field bleachers to provide the final margin of victory. For Williams, it was a historic homer, making him the first player ever to hit a World Series home run for 3 different clubs. From there, it was all Johnson the rest of the way, and Diamondback fans hailed the victors of the first 2 games of the 2001 World Series, with the players doing the same toward their fans.
Diamondbacks win it 4-0. They're up 2-0.
After a day off for the cross-country trip, the series moved to New York City and historic Yankee Stadium. In one of the more emotionally charged scenes in World Series history, President Bush strolled to the mound under a thunderous ovation to toss the ceremonial first pitch, marking the first time a sitting president participated in the first pitch ceremony in 45 years. Despite an outstanding effort from Arizona starter Brian Anderson, the Diamondbacks offense managed only 3 hits off Roger Clemens and Mariano Rivera as the Yankees edged Arizona 2-1 to climb back into the series. Pitching on 3 days rest for the first time in his career, Curt Schilling showed no ill effects in limiting the Yankees to 1 run in 7 innings. But Arizona couldn't manage to pull away from the Yankees, especially after plays like this by left fielder Shane Spencer and catcher Jorge Posada. As closer Byung-Hyun Kim looked on from the bullpen in the top of the 8th, the Diamondbacks added a pair of runs to push their lead to 3-1, the last one on this nice slide by pinch runner Midre Cummings. But then, in the bottom of the 9th, with 2 outs and Arizona holding a 2-run lead, Tino Martinez swatted a game-tying homer that left Kim and the Diamondbacks stunned beyond belief. 1 inning later, Derek Jeter capped the incredible Yankee rally with a game-winning home run just minutes after the clock struck midnight and the calendar flipped, giving in to the first November World Series in history. Everyone associated with the Diamondbacks was shocked. 24 hours later, while holding a 2-run lead and needing just 1 out to secure a victory, lightning struck the Diamondbacks again as Kim surrendered another haunting game-tying home run. This time it was Scott Brocious who clubbed the shot. Diamondbacks teammates swarmed Kim, offering encouragement. 3 innings later, the Yankees completed another improbable evening with a 3-2 victory.
They lead the series 3-2.
Relieved to be out of Yankee Stadium's unforgiving shadow, the Fall Classic returned to the Valley for Game 6. Being home again was just the tonic the Diamondbacks needed as they wasted no time jumping all over Yankee starter Andy Pettitte and those who followed. Before the Yankees came to bat in the 4th inning, Arizona led 12-0. By the time the 5th inning was over, the Diamondbacks had a 15-run lead and cruised all the way to a 15-2 shellacking of the 3-time defending world champions. Arizona's 22 hits set a new World Series record and set the stage for what would turn into one of the most memorable Game 7s in sports history. Anticipation and tension filled the evening air, and a surprise flyover from a stealth bomber underscored the enormity of the event. Like a pair of prize fighters feeling each other out, the Diamondbacks and Yankees traded blanks for 5 innings until Arizona scored in the bottom of the 6th on Danny Bautista's RBI double. New York eventually tied the score before rookie Alfonso Soriano belted a go-ahead homer in the 8th, one that seemed to spell doom for the Diamondbacks, especially since New York closer Mariano Rivera, the greatest postseason reliever ever, blazed through Arizona's order in the 8th. But veteran Mark Grace led off the 9th with a sharp single up the middle that seemed to pump some much-needed life into the Diamondbacks and the sellout crowd. Damian Miller followed with a sacrifice bunt that turned into a devastating Yankee error when Rivera threw wildly to second. Tony Womack's double into the right field corner scored the tying run and sent the Diamondbacks dugout and the overflow crowd into delirium. The final stage was now set. One batter later, Luis Gonzalez lofted a soft flare over a drawn-in infield to score Jay Bell and end the game and the season. The Diamondbacks were the new World Series champions. The players stormed out of the dugout and embraced each other. Bedlam ensued well into the night. Managing general partner Jerry Colangelo proudly hoisted the World Series trophy. Curt Schilling and Randy Johnson shared Most Valuable Player honors, and the Diamondbacks, in just their 4th season, had become the youngest franchise ever to win the World Series. 2001 truly was an unforgettable season for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Pizza. Pizza.